£872 billion. That is how much is sitting in ISAs across the UK right now. Around 360 billion of it in cash. The government looked at that enormous pile of money and decided it wanted some of it working differently. So from April 2027, they're bringing in a 22% charge that, for the first time in 25 years, reaches inside the one account we were all promised was completely tax-free. Now, here's my honest take. For most people, the actual cost of this is small, almost nothing. But that is not the point. The point is the door, because a door that was firmly shut for a quarter of a century has just been pushed open. And once it's open, it rarely closes again. Just a quick reminder, nothing in this video is financial advice. It's purely for educational purposes, and you should always do your own research before making any financial decisions. So I'm going to do 4 things. Explain exactly what's changing in plain English, because the headlines have genuinely confused everyone. Show you who it actually hits. Tell you the simple way around it, and why even that is more annoying than it should be. And by the end, explain why I'm not panicking, but I am watching this very closely. Let's get into it. Right, what's actually changing? There are really 4 moves here, all landing on the 6th of April 2027. Firstly, if you're under 65, the amount you can put into a cash ISA each year drops from £20,000 to £12,000. Your total ISA allowance stays at £20,000, but not all of it can go into a cash ISA. Secondly, the big one, a 22% charge on interest earned on cash held inside a stocks and shares ISA. Thirdly, if you're under 65, you can no longer transfer money from a stocks and shares ISA back into a cash ISA. It's a one-way valve now into investing only. And move 4. You won't be allowed to hold your entire stocks and shares ISA in money market funds. 4 moves, all pushing in the same direction, out of cash into the market. Now let me clear up the 22% charge, because the headlines have been a mess. This is not a tax on your investments. Let me say that clearly. Your shares, your funds, your S&P 500 tracker, your dividends, your growth, all of that stays exactly as tax-free as it is today. Nothing changes there. The 22% applies to one specific thing: the interest you earn on uninvested cash that's just sitting inside a stocks and shares ISA. Loads of platforms now pay you interest on that spare cash, a bit like a savings account. From 2027, that interest gets a flat 22% charge taken off it. And flat really means flat. It's the same 22% whether you're a basic rate taxpayer, a higher rate taxpayer, or someone who pays no income tax at all. So when you see a headline screaming 22% tax on your ISA, that's not it. It's a charge on the interest on your spare cash. Much smaller thing. So who does this actually hit? Here's the bit that winds me up. It is not aimed at the gamers, and it doesn't really catch them. It catches the careful. Think about who holds cash inside a stocks and shares ISA. It's someone who's just sold a fund and hasn't decided where to put the money yet. It's someone whose dividends have landed as cash. And most of all, it's someone sensibly de-risking. Maybe they're a few years from retirement, or saving towards a house deposit, and they're gradually shifting from shares into safer cash as the date gets closer. That is not a loophole. That is textbook responsible money management. Exactly what every financial plan tells you to do as you approach the moment you'll need the cash. And one more correction, because nearly every video got this wrong. People keep saying, if you're over 65, none of this affects you. Not true. The smaller cash limit and the transfer ban are for under 65s only, but the 22% charge on cash interest applies at every age. Everyone. So why are they doing it? And to be fair, I'll give you the strongest version of their argument. There's around £360 billion sitting in cash ISA, and a huge chunk of that is dead money in the worst way. Roughly 3 million people are holding £20,000 or more in cash ISAs while investing absolutely nothing, somewhere north of £100 billion, just sitting there. And over the long run, cash has badly lost to the stock market by something like 4 or 5% a year historically. So the government's logic is that money could be working harder for those savers and funding British companies at the same time. Get it invested, everyone wins. And honestly, the underlying point is true. Over the long term, sensible investing beats cash. Getting more Brits investing is a genuinely good goal. It's the method, I think, is a mistake. Because the magic of an ISA was never just the tax break. It was the simplicity. The deal was beautifully simple. Money goes in, and once it's in, you never have to think about the taxman again. Your accountant doesn't want to know. There's no form, no declaration, nothing. That simplicity is the entire reason nervous people felt safe using it. And this change, for the first time in 25 years, puts a tax inside the wrapper. Just a small one on cash interest. But the principle is now broken. The door is open. And here's the honest worry. Today, it's 22% on cash interest. What's the precedent for tomorrow? A small charge on dividends? A sliver off your gains? I'm not saying that will happen, but 3 years ago, a tax of any kind inside an ISA was unthinkable. And now here we are. That's what a slippery slope actually looks like. Not a cliff, just a first step that makes the second one easier. And the really frustrating part, it probably won't even achieve what they want. For one, it's almost comically easy to step around, and I'll show you exactly how in a moment. But more importantly, it adds complexity to a system that is already too complicated. Get this. One major survey found that around 42% of UK adults have no real understanding of what a stocks and shares ISA even is. 42%. And the regulator found that most people with decent savings keep nearly all of it in cash precisely because investing feels confusing and intimidating. So the fix for people find investing too complicated is a new tax rule, a transfer ban, and a thing about money market fund percentages. You don't coax a person into the deep end by adding more rules to the pool. You just make them more likely to stay on the side, in cash, exactly where you didn't want them. There's a deeper point here too, about human behaviour. Studies that have tracked real investors for decades keep finding the same thing. The average investor actually underperforms the very funds they're invested in. Not because of fees, because of behaviour. They panic and sell when markets drop. They sit in cash when things feel scary. And they buy back in too late. So now imagine you take people who are already anxious about investing and you tax them until investing feels like the only affordable option. Do you get confident, disciplined investors? Or do you just get a bigger pool of nervous ones, more likely to panic at the first wobble? You don't build a healthy investing culture by prodding frightened people into the market with a stick, because there was a carrot available and they didn't use it. There's a tax called stamp duty, 0.5% every time you buy UK shares, that literally punishes people for investing in British companies. Industry surveys have found that scrapping that would genuinely encourage people to invest more, while cutting the cash ISA limit barely moves the needle at all. Only a tiny fraction said that would make them more likely to invest. So one lever is popular and pro-British, and the other mostly breeds resentment. They reached for the stick. That, more than anything, tells you this is as much about the Treasury's books as it is about your future. Okay, enough griping. What do you actually do about it? Here's the workaround, and it's the one I'd point most people to: a money market fund. A money market fund is a low-risk, cash-like investment. It quietly earns roughly the going interest rate by lending short-term to banks, big companies, and the government. The key thing is, the taxman classes it as an investment, not as cash. So the interest it pays does not get hit by that 22% charge. You get a near cash return inside your ISA without the new charge. There's just one catch, and here's where it gets needlessly fiddly. You're not allowed to hold 100% of your stocks and shares ISA in money market funds. That would make the whole account non-qualifying, which is a fancy way of saying you could accidentally break your ISA. So the rule, bizarrely, is you can hold 99% in a money market fund as long as you've got at least a token bit in something else, like a single share or a normal fund, which is, frankly, a slightly ridiculous thing to have to think about. But that's the workaround. But here's the sting in the tail you need to watch for. Some platforms have warned that rather than deal with the admin of collecting this charge, they might just stop paying interest on your cash altogether. So you could end up earning less on your spare cash whether you're charged or not. The lesson is simple. From 2027, don't let large amounts of cash sit idle in a stocks and shares ISA. Either invest it, move it to a money market fund, or keep your spare cash in an actual cash ISA where the interest is still completely tax-free. So, let me bring this back down to earth, because I don't want you closing this video in a panic. That's the exact opposite of what I want. First, none of this is law yet. There's still a consultation running. The fine detail can change, and it doesn't even start until April 2027. So there is no need to do anything dramatic today. No panic selling, nothing rushed. Second, for the vast majority of people, the actual pound-for-pound cost of this is tiny, because you shouldn't be sitting on a mountain of idle cash inside an investment account for years anyway. If you're invested, you're barely touched. The real cost of this change isn't the money, it's the precedent, and that's the note I want to leave you on. The ISA is still genuinely one of the best wealth-building tools we have anywhere in the world. £20,000 a year, growing completely tax-free, is a gift most countries would dream of. Do not let a scary headline frighten you out of using it. Keep investing. Keep filling that allowance. A disciplined investor doesn't lurch about every time a rule changes. They keep showing up month after month and let the years do the work. But keep your eyes open too, because the wrapper we were promised would never be touched just got touched. It's only a small thing today. Our job is to make sure it stays a small thing. If you found this useful and you want me to keep cutting through the noise on stuff like this, hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.